Alright, gauze. It's a medical bandage, like medicine, treating wounds. That's what it is. And the origin of the term gauze, or just Gaza in general, is Gaza, which is a city in Palestine currently undergoing an active genocide. And you might be questioning why I'm talking about it. I look like the floor, the wall, the ceiling, and the light all mashed together in one. But it affects all of us. That's true. That it just does. And thinking for a second that it doesn't is wrong, because there has been a rise in anti-Semitic and Islamophobic attacks since October 7th all across the globe. Recently in America, there was a 6-year-old boy stabbed to death by his mother's landlord because he was Muslim. And you might be going, oh well, what can I do? You can talk about it. You should be making a conscious effort to learn, to talk about it, to know more about it, because it's important. Because it's a genocide. It is not a religious war or conflict. Most big media is lying to you, and despite what some will say, it is not self-defense. And genocide, hopefully you've heard the term before. You heard of the not like 10 stages of it. Currently, Israel is on the 9th stage of genocide, which is when the extermination of the already alienated group or targeted group occurs. And, you know, they ramped up to the stage on October 7th. And it's been happening for a lot longer than October 7th, though. And, like, between November 14th, November 14th and October 7th, because that's my most up to date that I have down, there were 11,000 Palestinians killed between those 36 days. Half of them children. It has been called the genocide by UN officials, by Holocaust survivors. It is a genocide. It is textbook genocide. And, you know, Israel is also stopping food, water, internet, power to get in. They are withholding fuel from hospitals. They are bombing hospitals and schools and locations that they tell Palestinians to go to. This is a genocide. It is a textbook genocide. And yeah, it is a genocide. This is a genocide. I don't know how many times I have to repeat myself. Um, you you might have noticed how I never once called it a conflict or a war, unless I'm saying that it isn't that, because it isn't. This is a genocide. It's not even religious, because there are Jewish Palestinians, there are Christian Palestinians, Muslim Palestinians, there are people who don't even believe in a religion who are Palestinian. You don't have to be Muslim to be Palestinian. And this just isn't a religious war, because it's not even a war. And because a war, it implies that both sides have the ability to fight against each other. This is not a war. Palestine doesn't have a military. They don't. Israel has nukes, and they're bombing and using white phosphorus on civilians. White phosphorus is outlawed by the Geneva Convention because of the effect that it has on humans. And Israel is using that on Palestinians. And there are Christian Palestinians who, like, their bloodlines date back to, like, the inception of Christianity. And they're being wiped out. Their family trees are just dying because of Israel, because of the genocide, because that's what it is. And there's even videos of Israel beating Orthodox Jews. They're like police force beating Orthodox Jews because they don't agree with what's going on. Israel doesn't care what you believe in, because they've also forced Jewish Ethiopian women, to undergo long-term birth control. Unknowingly, they've forced them to be injected with long-term birth control because they are Ethiopian. Israel's government is apartheid, and really basic definition of apartheid is racist. Bad, not good. And that's what Israel is. And it's not a free nation. It is. Palestinians are treated as second-class citizens in Jerusalem, anywhere where Israel has control over. And, it's just, you're good. It's not a genocide. It's not a war. It never has been and never will be. And, you know, the idea that it is wrong. You might have noticed how I boldly claimed that media is lying to you, big media. And by that I meant CNN, Fox, stuff like that, because they are. Um, those news agencies are, they've been, recorded as being biased in more ways than one. I believe it was Fox during the elections that, you know, that, you know, were more right, that were posting more about Trump and about how the left was bad or something. I don't know, I'm not into the news. But it's not just that they are underreporting what is happening, they're using incredibly false narratives. Like any like source that has posted about how the 40 beheaded babies, they don't have a good source other than Times of Israel. And Times of Israel is biased. And there's no accurate coverage by those big companies or like news agencies because they don't care as long as it makes them money. Because we are making money off of this. Our government is making money off of this act of genocide because we are selling weapons to Israel that they are using against Palestinians, and it's funding us, our nation, like our government. And like New York Times, for example, they had an article about how anti-Semitism in a college campus, whichever one it was, had grown because of the pro-Palestinian protests, which is wrong, because being pro-Palestinian does not make you anti-Semitic. That just doesn't add up, because saying that you don't want to support a genocide doesn't mean that you hate Jewish people. And in fact, assuming that going against a genocide means that you don't like Jewish people assumes that all Jewish people stand with Israel, which is wrong and bad in general. Why would you do that? Don't do that. And currently, Israel is losing the online battle. They are grasping at any straws they can get. They have reached out to Meta, which is like Instagram, Facebook, even Twitter. Fun story about Twitter, though, is that Israel has posted on Twitter that they have tried to call Twitter HQ to get pro-Palestinian posts removed. However, nobody picked up the phone. Nobody picked up the phone. There's nobody at Twitter HQ to pick up the phone. But at Meta, like Instagram and Facebook, there have been pro-Palestinian accounts or just Palestinian accounts on Twitter and such, talking about how their Instagram stories won't show up for them. Their posts are being shadow banned, suppressed, because they're talking about what is happening. However, what you can do is you can help raise their voices. There are accounts that you can follow at Times of Gaza on Twitter, capital T, the rest is lowercase, and all one word. On Twitter is a great account that posts live updates. I don't have Instagram. I can't tell you about that. Facebook, can't really tell you about that because there's nobody on there that I follow that has posted about it. But you can find these accounts and you can repost them. You can reshare these videos. If you need to go through, you can. Because it makes an impact, even if you think it doesn't. One of the main points Zionists use to defend Israel is saying that it is self-defense based off of the October 7th attacks, which it is not, because, you have the point, which is that most of Israel's deaths from that attack they were not civilians. They were sergeants. They were soldiers. And Israel also hasn't taken the hostages back. Hamas has attempted to give the hostages back under the terms of a ceasefire, a few-day ceasefire, so that they could get treatment and aid, but they aren't. Israel didn't accept that. They don't care. And even if it was self-defense, why are they attacking the West Bank? The West Bank is an entirely separate part of Palestine. That there is no Hamas there. There is no Hamas. And they're also setting fires in the south of Lebanon. This is not self-defense. It is just a guise. This is just a disguise. for their genocide. And even in the 7 steps of genocide, if there is conflict going on before it like escalates like how it has, the 7 stages can be quoted saying that they will pretend that it is genocide. They will say that it is genocide. If you need to get through, you can. And it's not. This is textbook genocide. It never has been self-defense, and it never will be. Once more, you just see textbook genocide, and there is so much more that I wish you could have added on. But neither do I have the time, nor did I have the word count, because genocide isn't something that you can talk about in under 20 minutes in a class period, really. And I just can't. I can't say all of it. I'm sorry, I can't. And there have been people I've talked to online, which is the most important part of this, who have helped me create this speech. They have helped me curate my words. And I would have never known about this if I didn't look online, which is why you need to share, because you can come in, you can share those words, and you can spread that information to people who would have never known about it before. You can email your politicians, you can beg for a ceasefire, which you shouldn't have to. But just remember that the government is for you, not for you to be for them. It doesn't matter if you feel bad, because you should be harassing those politicians to call for a ceasefire. You can boycott stuff, and even if you can't do any of that, you can share stuff online. And in all honesty, it doesn't matter if you're uncomfortable with this, because it should make you uncomfortable. It is a genocide that our government is allowing to happen. You should feel uncomfortable, and you should be speaking. You have the power to speak, and you should go. You should go out, you should protest, you should speak, because you should. All right? And if you don't think you should, you are wrong, because your silence means that you are complicit in the genocide of an innocent person, of innocent people, of an innocent group. Even if they weren't innocent, genocide is not the answer. It never has been, and it never will be. Your silence means you are complicit in the murder and genocide of a nation. Remember that.